Hello and welcome to our ProfileTree live stream. Today in this video we'll be going through a Wix-based tutorial on how you can build your own Wix website. And as part of this, we want to go through a bit of a run through e-commerce. And on part of our previous videos, we had seen a lot of comments and engagement from previous users before on some questions. So some things we wanted to do is our entire process from start to finish. So how we can prepare and plan our site, develop our logo and brand, and then of course take that to action on Wix and put together our first site. So the idea here is to start with a few examples that we would use, some inspiration that you can help find and hopefully generate some ideas for yourself. So one of the first questions that we had previously on our last video was how do we create our logo, or how can I get ideas to rebrand or create a logo from that? And we thought that was a pretty good place to start. If we're going to go from a step-by-step guide, in the first place to start is what did we do before we even got a website? And that's what we're going to do here. So this video is aimed at anyone in the range of someone who maybe wants to try a new hobby, try building out some websites on Wix, or for someone who maybe has a small business or a small side project and they want a bit of online advertising and some form of platform or place to start your business from. So this may be the perfect video for that. And with that in mind, of course, you can always check out our previous tutorials. This live stream will be a good test, both for ourselves too. Hopefully the audio and the quality is all perfect. But as I said, it is completely open. And if anyone joined us in between, please do put your comments in and I'll certainly check them out and have a wee look and see what's going on. But just to get started then, so the first thing you may want to do when you start a project or you start any form of Wix-based website is to get together your brand and your brand name. So I'm going to assume by this stage you already have your company name, your project name, or whatever it may be for your website, and that's absolutely fine. What we are going to do now is learn how we can convert that name to a logo and to try and get some form of brand recognized there. So one of the best people I would kind of recommend first is squarespace.com. And what you can do on squarespace.com is you can open up a new tab where you can actually create and develop a logo by using Squarespace. So what you can see here is the URL I have attached above, and I will put this in the description too, is logo.squarespace.com. And if you check this out, you'll see the first page, as you can see here, is exactly as you can see. And the first thing we're going to do then is, of course, put in our company name. So for the purpose of this video, we have went ahead with a brand name called ProfileTree. Of course, trying to keep everything branded for ourselves and not offend anyone. And the name of this site then is just called ProfileTree, and this site that we're going to be using, for example, is actually furniture. And this is just a mock scenario, just something to give you a bit of an idea. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having an e-commerce website that will sell furniture. So thinking about my brand, I'm obviously thinking that I want to be a handcrafted furniture producer and reseller. I, of course, want to be bespoke. I want to be a unique product that stands out from market. And some of the things that I want to get across there as our key points already are handcrafted furniture, bespoke, unique. So I want to bring those things in. So the first thing I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of bespoke and handcrafted, I'm thinking of wood. And again, I'm thinking of trees. So relating to obviously our own brand name of ProfileTree, let's try and have a look and see what comes in there. So the first thing we're going to do is type in ProfileTree. And we will see what comes up. So with Squarespace, we can go in there, type in ProfileTree or brand name, and then hit next. And from that straight away, you're greeted with a guide or a tutorial on what you can do. So I can search for symbols. So again, we talked before about a tree. So let's maybe try that. So we can see whenever these load, we can see a tree appearing and we can get an idea for what we can use. So let's have a wee look down this list so we can see different trees. You'll notice our icon will change here in the center. So it's all good in terms of the layout and style. Of course, we also have our text too. So if we left click on our text, we can get an idea of what font we're using, some colors, the weight, and the style. And we can trial and error with all of these fonts just to really get a perfect example of what we're looking for. So if we look at our font family as an example, we can change here. We can see there's different fonts. So Open Sans, Montserrat would be one of my favorites here. But there's many different fonts you can use with. Of course, if you're brave, you can use Times New Roman. But I'll leave that to yourself if you decide you want to go with that. So with that in mind, we'll have a wee look around, and again, you can spend hours on this. For the purpose of this live stream though, I'll try and make everything as short and sweet, but also as informative as possible. So going down and let's have a look at the Open Sans font. We'll change our font color. For now, we'll use black and white. As I said, this is really just to gather inspiration, and we can take this to the next stage. I'm happy with regular, that's fine. We'll now start to play around with the positioning. So profile tree and a tree probably isn't enough. So I obviously have an option here, as you can see at the top left, for a tagline. So what we'll do here is then we'll put a tagline in place. So let's go for something like handcrafted furniture. See what comes in. We can see straight away our tagline comes in, and once again we have the exact same options as before. So we've got our font family, our color, and so on and so forth. And we can kind of start to almost brand ourselves out now and put in our style here. So let's start to play around with different ideas. So Montserrat, I think, is the font we're going to go for with this. So we can put our font into place. From there, we can then use our tagline. Now, messing around with different styles and icons, of course, we can gather inspiration from other users, from other websites. So you can see throughout this video, we'll be able to see other websites that we've checked out for inspiration, and that's regarding our layout, so our structure on Wix. So what we'll do here is I kind of think that this tree maybe isn't working out for us just right. So I want a tree that's fully blossomed, something that's really producing and it's fresh. And again, that's to relate back to our brand, to our furniture. So let's have a wee look there. So there's some trees in mind, and what we can do is we can restyle these up, try playing around with a different position. What you could also do possibly is replace letters for that icon. So for instance, the I of tree, and I can play around with different ideas. Now, of course, you need to get your brand across. It needs to be as simple as possible and have the biggest impact. So for me, maybe leaving it at the top would be a perfect example here. And it's clean, it's simple, and it does exactly what I needed to do. What's also really nice, and it kind of gives you a bit more of a feel for your own logo or your own brand, is the preview snippets at the bottom. So Squarespace is also a website builder that you can use. It's another service you can register to, similar to Wix. And with these, they give you some previews of your logo, which looks really nice. It helps give you a feel for how it may appear. So if I was to look at this computer here at the bottom, you can see obviously that there's the white version, which works really well. So it kind of gives you a bit more of a feel. For the purpose of this video, though, we've went ahead and we've made something that we've previously done before, just to try and obviously give us an idea of where we want to go with the project or with the plan. So I went with something very similar. I used Photoshop. So what I was able to do was I was able to use Squarespace to present a plan, a bit of inspiration with this, and I was able to take it further. And what I was able to work out here was a very similar idea. So I'm just going to bring Photoshop over into the screen, and you should see the style that we went for here. So we've kind of tried to go for, again, the tree aspect of things. We've moved the tree over to the left-hand side, and with that in line, we've had our brand name. So ProfileTree is the name of the business, followed by our tagline, which is handcrafted furniture. And we've brought that into place very well. It sits nicely, it's simple, it's clean, and it's easy to place on a website. It's not too in your face, but it gives you almost a premium feel. And of course, we can change the colors and move things around as we go on with the site. So now that we've got our brand in line, we then want to kind of go on to a stage of looking at our layouts and looking at and gathering information as much as possible. So again, some of the questions were, how do we create our logo, which we went over, and again, there's tutorials out there on how to use Photoshop. And how to tweak and edit your styles and themes. Of course, you can do all these. But for the purpose of this, that was just a brief summary on how we use websites like Squarespace to create our logos and gather inspiration from more. Of course, if you do like your logo on Squarespace, I forgot to mention as well, you can actually continue by saving that logo. You can get a few options. So you can have a watermarked version, and you can also download. Now, obviously, it's a cost involved there, where you can sign up to Squarespace and you can use their website builder and actually get the logo you've created for free as part of that package. Other than that, you can buy the logo itself. So there's a lot of options there that you can work with. So moving on to how do we gather inspiration and how do we put together different ideas for our page. Obviously, the next steps coming up is we're going to be sending up to Wix and putting together our own site. But before we do that, we want to have an idea of where we're going to go with our website once we have it. How can we put our website from start to finish, and how are we going to plan out the layout? And that's what we're going to do now, is just to have a look at some competitor websites, and you'll see I have a few open here. So the first example, and you'll probably imagine this was coming, one of the biggest furniture producers in the world and resellers out there is IKEA. IKEA offer a really fantastic website. amazing array of products and services that they offer. But their website, when you go to inspect their website, is very almost unexpected. It's a lot going on. It is very clean. It's very simple, but it can be a lot going on at times. But everyone knows what IKEA is, so what they can do straight away is put products right in the center along with that. So just to check out the IKEA site, so straight away we have this large big hero image, and from there they've put a link in the middle with some of their prices and some of their key selling points. So this is obviously one of their ranges that they offer, and if I was to click on this, I'll be taken through to a bit more information. If I click anywhere on the actual slider itself or the hero image, I am taken to that actual array or range that they offer, and I get different pages from that. But they've kind of went for this consistent layout, and you've noticed from the previous page you can see a bit more about what they offer, different services, different products, and I can click through all these, and there's a bit of content that obviously follows alongside with that. What you'll notice is there's a bit of a trend as we go through some of the other sites. So obviously we've got Target as well, Actually Furniture Home Store, Design Furniture, and First Dibs. So there's a lot of similarities here within the websites, and the first thing I'm going to call out here is the large hero images at the top. You see it's a big trend of 2017 and 2018 is these large hero images. Sliders are one thing that have kind of gone. You'll notice that you'll not really see many big sliders now in the home screen area, and what we refer to now as the hero image. You see a large bold image, normally a call to action, some form of selling point for that website, and a bit more information. Now, some, depending on who you go to, will have a locking on. Others will be really clean and a slick or stripped down version of what you can put in. So when we look at IKEA, for instance, we see again the large hero image, and that's all you see when you go on the screen. You have to scroll down to see more or to view more content. Target, almost exactly the same with the large hero image. We can scroll down and we can see more, and we can go into their other services or other products that they offer, and they have their whole website categorized, which makes sense of the amount of quantity of stock and products that they do sell. And then we go on to, of course, Actually Furniture Home Store. And once again, we see another very similar feature here. So we see any sliders have been stripped away. And in fact, what looks like they have done is actually taken their sliders and put them into sections. So these are things that I would all imagine to see in a slider at one stage. So they have done a very similar idea. So a large hero image at the top, their point of action or their call to action, and their sale in this case, some more percentage off. And again, then you get into their products. And from there, we can click and view their products that they have. So in terms of a simple layout, this is the best that you can get. You're giving your client, you're giving your consumer, your visitor, something to go to. So again, their call to action, a sale, anyone to get money off will go to anything. And of course, then the products itself. And that's the main idea. We don't want to be greeted with a block of text or paragraphs of text on the homepage. The point here is that we want to draw an attention. So if, for instance, you're selling furniture or you're selling anything, or even if it's a service, you're not actually selling a physical product, you want to advertise that service on your homepage immediately. So the first thing that I do when I get to your site is I go, yeah, I want to buy this, or I want to sign up to find out more. And then that's the idea, the message that you want to get across. For pages that you want to set up your block of text, you've got a blog and an About Us page to do all this. So just to kind of summarize, obviously the ideas, here's some of the pages that we liked. So made.com I thought was one of the best out there. It was the most clean site that I've found. A nice, again, hero image. They actually kept the slider, but I think it works well for their site. A nice navigation at the top. And of course their category that they've offered. And you can go down to some of their featured products or their best designs. So you can see this kind of trend carries out throughout. So the first thing we want to do now is obviously once we've got our planning in place, we've got our inspiration, we've got our brand together, we've got our logo, we now want to go to Wix and we want to set up a Wix account. And this is where we'll be joining our previous video that we did before on Wix. So we're going to set up now a Wix account and follow through with this. So of course, to set up a Wix account, just go to Get Started. From here, we can set up a new account and create a new. So we're going to sign up a new account. So we're going to use our support ProfileTree email. Through the steps, and we're just going to carry through this together, so hopefully make things as easy as possible as we go. And again, if you have any questions or anything comes up in between, do let us know. Hopefully we will be able to answer those. If we don't catch them in the middle of this video, we will come to them at the end and go through them again. So you should see we're pretty interactive with our our comment section. So the first thing you're going to get an option to here is how can we use Wix to build a website. So we can use the editor, or we can also use their ADI, which is their artificial intelligence system. We've used it before previously and thought it worked really well. But what we want to do here is we want to start with Wix and some of their templates. So Wix, as you can see here, offers thousands of templates that you can kind of build from. And one of the best places I think to start is, again, it's hard to be innovative when there's so many topics or so many websites out there now, is we want obviously to choose something or something similar to how we feel our website's going to promote itself. So when we look at the templates, again, we can see a list. So there should be something for you here, whether you're looking to set up a blog website, photography, video, music design. You can see there's quite a list that we can choose from. And these are all ideas. The way I would explain to look at templates is don't look at the color or the size of font or the photos, but look at the actual layout, look at the position of things, look at where there's a large image in the top right and the navigation at the top. So that's the type of idea that we want to look for here. So of course we're looking for an online store, something we want to sell a product in. So let's go to the online store section. We can see again a range of areas. So we can see home and decor, which is of course is what we're aiming for ourselves here, but we can see different options, and don't feel limited to go for something that you're producing. So if I'm making a new clothing product, I don't necessarily need to pick a template here in clothing. Really, this is just to get a feel for the layout, for the theme, and obviously what you want to go for with your design. The purpose of this tutorial, though, we will look at the home and decor section. From here we can see a range of different themes, different templates to follow. And what we can also do is we can click on view to get a better understanding or an idea of how this would look. So again, what I would try to focus on here is not to focus on the color of the font or the pictures at the top, but really focus on the style and the layout. So what am I going to change here? I'm going to change the text. I'm going to change this picture. So I do get to keep my large hero image. I can look at the text, so I can change these photos, these images. So all of these things are completely customizable. We can change all of these, and that's what we want to look for. We want to look for the style and the layout. So what do I imagine when I go on to my new ProfileTree handcrafted furniture website? What I can also do is have a look at the mobile responsive view. And of course, one of the biggest things now, not just for your own use and for your visitors who are going to be on their mobile phone, but also for Google. So Google ranks their site for SEO in terms of how well it promotes on a mobile phone and can it fit for being mobile responsive. So of course we want to get that in play. We want to make sure that we have that covered. And again, you can see with this theme that it's completely mobile responsive, and you can see how it would look with the About Us section underneath their products, talking about the featured items that they're available. And the idea here with this is they wanted to put their products first and then their About Us section, a bit more about them, and that's absolutely fine. You can do that. So just going back then to our previous themes, that was good. Maybe not something I was looking for. This ceramic studio has caught my eye. So again, I'm not doing anything to do with ceramics. My idea was actually closer to the last one, and that was furniture. So for this, I can see there's quite a nice website. I have my social media on the right-hand side, so I can encourage my visitors, my users, to share on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and Pinterest, which is fantastic. Again, it's where I want the products. It's really clean, and of course, they have staged photos. For the purpose of this tutorial, don't be expecting me to go out and take a few photos, but hopefully we'll be able to see what we can do. But they have some really nice stage photos, a nice background on the table. It's fantastic. And of course, a contact form in the bottom. So really engaging with your user straight away. Of course, a map to find out where you are. So again, where am I buying from? Where is this product found? So that's fantastic. We can even flick through the other pages. So how is our pages going to look? So once again, a really clean, simple site. Not providing too much information, but give me enough that what I need to know. And of course then contact, and that just brings me to the bottom. So a nice site, really clean, and overall does exactly what it says on the tin. Once again, we can look at the mobile view and just give ourselves an idea of how we could imagine this site running. So with that in mind, we'll have a look at a few different templates and themes, and finally we can go down and pick what maybe would be best to suit our needs or what we're looking for at the moment. So from looking at the range, I feel that the ceramic studio may be the best for us too. So the first thing we can do then is we can left click on edit. I'm just going to close and tidy up some of these tasks up here at the top. Leave some of them open. I may want to go back to get a wee bit of inspiration again later. So we can see the first thing I'm going to get is another tutorial. So without the idea of giving you a tutorial inside another tutorial, I'll close this for now, and hopefully I'll be able to provide enough information to keep you informed on what you need to do. So when you start with a theme, you can see that a lot of things are done for you. We have our large strip section at the top here, and you'll see that's highlighted by the blue ribbon at the top. Our body of text, and we can see if we highlight each section, we'll have a blue highlight, and then our products. And we can go on down throughout. Now again, just to come back before we start with the main build, to come back to our old video before, a lot of questions we received was, why are these lines around? And this is your container lines. Wix use this as a way of keeping you in line, or in the grid as it's referred to for web building. So we look at this here as responsive web design. So if we're looking at this, we look at being able to fit on a tablet and on a mobile. So the idea here is that Wix have pretty much said in the support panel, they say if you build inside these lines, they can guarantee that it will fit for mobile and tablet response. Going outside these lines is what they say is pretty much on your own head, which means if it doesn't work, they will not cover, they will not fix it. So you can see we may lose bits and pieces. So for instance, if we were to go to mobile mode, you may see possibly that image is cut in half. I'm not too sure, but it's just some things to be aware of. So absolutely, yeah, we can see that image was actually cut, and that's the idea for the grid lines. So it's just to provide a bit more information on how that actually works. So when we flick between desktop and mobile, so those lines, if you want to play it safe, the best thing to do is stay inside the lines and work inside of these, and that'll provide a really safe and clean interface to work from. So to give a bit of a background to some of the things that you'll see here, there's a lot going on when you look at Wix for the first time. So just to explain. So what you can see first of all is a few sections and toolbars along the top. So starting from the top of the page, we have obviously our page selector. So when you work with a template for the first time, you'll be given a range of pages that you can build from, starting from your home, about, right down to your cart and thank you pages, of course, when someone makes a purchase or sends off a contact form. We have our site settings. So from here, we can save, preview our site, and we can publish it and get feedback and reviews from our friends and family. So it's like a private link. And of course, finally, we can publish the site and put it live. So once we have a domain, and we'll come back to our domain settings, once we have a domain set up, from here we can publish and push it live. We have some more settings, which I'll not spend too much time on. And these are connect to mailbox, domain again, and set up a favicon. So depending on the version or the license that you buy for Wix, there's different versions. So there's a free version, which provides full access to the site, but does have its limitations. So you may not be able to access the e-commerce side of things. You may also not be able to access your own branding. So what happens is, as part of their agreement, Wix will put their logos and favicons over the site. So if you look at the very top of the screen here, you will see the favicon is the small icon that sits in a tab. Now the browser I'm using is Google Chrome. Hopefully you can see that there on the live stream. These are the favicons at the top, and you'll see these wee icons as you go on. So from our settings, we then have a list of other options, again, that we're all going to come back to in the later stages of this video, which will be our social and our analytics, and so on and so forth. We can see that there is quite a range to play with. Now, what I would recommend for yourself, if you're only starting out with Wix for the first time, is just to get familiar with the layout, learn where things are. So if I need to come back and, for instance, make sure that I've turned off the toolbars, I can turn everything back on. So you'll see on the right-hand side, the grid lines. So I can turn all these back on and see exactly where things are. So just to get familiar with how Wix works, how it's laid out. So if something does go wrong, and over time you will make mistakes, that's how we all learn, it's how we all progress, is of course to go back and find out where the mistake happened from in the first place. But there's a few options. One of the things that I really commend Wix about is their help and support fields. You'll find loads of forums, loads of tutorials online, just like we're doing right now, loads of Wix tutorials and even readmes that you can go through. So plenty of information and loads of resources online to go through. So the first thing we want to do, though, is get stuck in and let's start changing some images around and start playing with the idea, the theme that we want to go with. So when we look at our first page, we see the home page, and from our inspiration, we wanted to have a large hero image, something that was going to stand at the top of the page, that was going to provide a lot of information, but also make it really clean and really styled out. So one of the things that we're going to do here is play with maybe the strip. And what we can do, we can highlight everything in the screen. When we highlight anything with Wix, we can see we get a section or a pop-up, and that tells us exactly what that is. So in this case, that's a text field. And if we left click once on the text field, we can then see an edit text comes up. We can left click on edit text, and now we have a highlighted box. And from here, we can go back and highlight that. We can change it to ProfileTree and bring across our brand, or we could name it one of our bespoke products. We can come up with an array of options here, different things to do, but for the purpose of this, we'll just call this ProfileTree. And again, we'll try and bring across the brand there just to build a brand with that. And again, we can change our fonts. So once again, we have an array of fonts that we can work from, quite a lot. And we'll leave it on the default that's there. I think Proxima Nova works really well. We can also adjust the font size. So again, if we highlight this and then we drag the slider, we can change the font size. And you'll see the website responds as it should do with the subtitle underneath, adjusting up and down as we change the font. So something that's big but not too in your face. So let's change that to 60. And that's perfect. Heading 3 is absolutely fine. So we have different types of headings. Something that we will come back to later when it comes to our SEO, as what Google will do is Google will rank these in a hierarchy. So they will see heading 1 is the most important, and they will read that first and then work its way down as the process goes on with your paragraphs and your headings. So important to pay attention to that, but something we'll return to is our SEO and how we can customize our site to be perfect in terms of Google and how we'll rank. So along with obviously our standard text options, we do have a few others, our standard bold, italic, and underline. Along with that, we also have effects. And from here, we can add shadows, outlines, and different features that we can play with. But of course, I want this website to be simplistic. I want it to be focusing on the product that we're going to sell, and everything else around that needs to stand out other than the product itself. So playing around with the text as well, we can move things around. So for instance, what I can do here is I can move this profile tree up. I can center and line, and you'll see the grid lines coming into play, and you'll also get a bit of a snap. So if you're about to center inside, it will actually snap to the center of the screen. So once I have a selection in place, I can then start to change this too. So again, I'll call this handcrafted furniture. Then I have a gap in the middle. And what I can do here is I can start to play around with different options. Maybe I want this to be a call to action. Maybe I want this to say a large 50% off sale or a new product. So we can play around with different ideas. And to do this, we're going to start to make use of the side toolbar here, the menu. And already you can see that this has been sitting on the screen from when we first visited the site. So you get a list of different options that we can do. So once again, like the top, we can see our pages. And we can look at the menu list. So once again, here we can see home, shop, about, and contact. So that carries across here. So home, shop, about, and contact. You'll notice now that with the store, with the e-commerce store, we have 3 other pages, and these 3 pages are faded. The color is faded. And we also see there is a symbol to the right-hand side. It's a symbol with of an eye with a line going through it. And that just simply means that that's hidden. So for instance, if I had maybe a membership page, or if I had a page that I did not want to be displayed in the top menu, I can actually select the More Options button, and I can actually click Hide. And what that will do is hide that section from the top of the menu, and you notice it's gone. Now it's still there for me to use. If I was to link someone to that page or that section, you would still see it'll be there, but it's just hidden from the navigation, or it's hidden from the site menu. So of course I want to unhide that for now, and I want to show that page. But that's just a quick example on the menu structure and how you can hide a menu, unhide a menu, and also rearrange. So you can rearrange by just dragging the boxes down. So if you wanted about to come first, then shop, or so on and so forth, you can change these around. So I'm going to leave it as home, about, shop, and then contact. And the last thing, of course, then is if we want to add a new page. So we can add a page via numerous amount of options. So we can add a page through the pages at the top of the screen by clicking on Manage Pages. We can also select the Menus and Pages button from the left-hand side and finally click on Add a Page. And from there we get a new page that's populated. We can give this page a name. So we'll call this page, let's call this News. We can hit Done and create that page. So we'll put that after Shop, and we can see that page has been created. Now already you can see that there's your blank canvas, and we'll come back to this canvas later and talk about how we can add features in here for now. But let's go back to the home page where we can continue editing our page from before. So straight away, looking at the page itself, we want obviously to notice that we have our menu. we have our main canvas, our main strip, and then we have a section where we've left blank. And what we want to do then is have we look down and we'll be able to see the third option down is the add button. From here, when we click on add, we have a list of options that we can add to the screen. So for the purpose, if you were building from a blank template, you could go in here and add your text fields and your headings and paragraphs all through this text field here. You can add an image and upload any images that you want, or use copyright-free images from Wix or from stock sites, and those links are provided here below. So you should be able to see you have full access to all the sites here. There's quite a list, and we could spend all day going through everything that Wix has to offer in terms of its services and what features you can have. But for the purpose of this, we want to add a shop or an image item. So what I might do here is I might go to store, and I can see that there's a gallery. So yes, a gallery is good. I don't really want it though in the main feature. So I want to have a featured product, something that stands out, maybe a selling item. So here I can see product widget. I can get a preview, or what's referred to as a thumbnail. So I can see here exactly what we're looking for. From that, I think, yep, I'm a product. The price and the details are great. So let's click on this. So we left click on that once, and hopefully, just waiting on it loading. Yeah, it'll load just above here. So as you can see, it's not maybe in the place that I wanted it to be. I needed it to be up here in the center or in the top section, and it's loaded just out of that. And so the first thing we want to do is, if we have clicked off it, we want to first just left click the highlight, and you'll notice something's highlighted with the blue line that travels around the edges. And when we highlight, we can also see that in the center our cursor changes. The mouse will change to a movement tool, and from there then we now know we can click and drag. So we left click and drag, and we can move that into a rough position that we want it in. Now straight away you'll notice that it's a bit too large and it's overlapping some of the text. We obviously want to make that a bit smaller. So the first thing we can do here is if we go to the top right or left hand corner, and we can actually change the cursor to 2 arrows, and you'll know that you left click and drag down, we can make this a bit smaller. So we can play around with the size, and we can also move it again just to get it in line. And once we have it in place, we can let go of left click, and that'll be positioned there. So what we can see now straight away is when we come to the site, we have our branded name. And we may play around with it a bit more to try and style it up a wee bit. So let's have a look at the text again. That's fine, the same font. Okay, so we've got our branded name. We've got our selling featured product. And again, you can change all these features. We can double left click, and we get a list of what it's connected to. So it's the shop. So again, for the template that we've used, we can see that I'm a product as a placeholder. And we can rename these, and we're going to show you soon how to rename your shop. We can see how it's going to be laid out. By looking at the layout, we can see, is it going to be text on the left and image on the right? Or is it going to be a larger image and a smaller text field? And for the purpose of this, actually, we will make the image to be larger. But there's different options that you can play around with. You can trial it and see what works for yourself and what doesn't. And of course, at the end of the day, you can define what you'd like the most. There is also different options for hover. So what happens whenever you hover over an element? There is an overlay up here. So the overlay will be this kind of faded. So when you hover, a small color overlays over the top. We have zoom. So when you can see in the background there, when we click that, the image will zoom into place. So again, this is just when you hover your mouse over on the site. We've got an array again of different options that we can trial and work with here. But again, if you'd like to turn any of these off, you can just by selecting none. But we will leave this as a default. We'll leave it to overlay. And that's just to make your user aware that there is an actionable event here, something they can click on, and we'll take them somewhere. Once again, you've got a lot of options that you can work with. You can change the name of the button. This button text could be buy now. It could be a sale. It could be anything at all. You can change it out, whatever you wanted it to be. So we'll change this to buy now. And that will update on the front end. It normally takes a few seconds behind, which is absolutely fine. So we can play around with the design. We can change our colors. We can add our brand in here. And we can also work with some extra spacing options too. Now, for now, I'm just going to leave this as it is, because we're going to come back to products later in this video and talk about how we can add our own products, add our own images, and our own names, of course, because we don't want it to say I'm a product the whole way through this video. And you can do that in multiple ways. Of course, you can do it from where we are now, which is in product widget. We can click on manage and add other products, or we'll be taken to a new page. And on this page, we can see a list of all the products that we have, how to set up your payment methods, shipping and tax, and so on and so forth. So a lot of options to play with, but again, we'll come back to these later. So now that we've added our product, and you can see by me getting in there, Wix has decided to break itself, so bear with me and I'll fix that again. So just for the purpose of that, I'm just going to bring it back to the way it was before, just to try and make things as easy as possible. Okay, so just starting again from where we were. The beauty of doing live streams, of course, if something does go wrong with Wix or something goes wrong on your site, you will have problems that we'll have to fix and correct. So there's a perfect example there. So now we've corrected, now we can move down and we can start to play with our other features and other options that we have on site. So we may come back and we may make further edits to this further on in the video, but for now it's really getting a feel for Wix, what we can do, what we can't do, and what options that we have alongside the video. So what we're going to see next then is we're going to see a slight gap or a block in text here. You'll notice there's a bit of a gap, and yes, white space is good, but of course we want to try and close up some of these gaps. So what we can do is when we left click on any item, as we talked about before, it gets highlighted. And when an item's highlighted, what we can do is we can actually drag into place the box. We can move it up and move it down. So for instance, if we wanted there to be less of a gap here at the bottom, we can start to stretch this down a bit more and trying to close up the gap, just to make everything as clean and user-friendly as possible. And of course, we may make further changes throughout as we go along. But the idea here is really to build across our point. Our point of sale is this large hero image at the top. So the first thing I'm going to see when I visit the site is ProfileTree handcrafted furniture. So I get the name of the brand, and then I get our main featured product. And from there, I can get a background image of what actual products that we offer and what we do. Then we have a bit of a text block here, and it's great to have some text blocks in your site. It provides a bit of information about what you're actually doing, what you're selling, and what your service is. Not alone is it good for your visitors or for your customers, but it's also good content. The more content you can have on a site, the better. You'll often hear people say content is king. And what we mean by that is that Google and SEO and web search engines will look at the list of content on your site, and they will rank your site based on the content that's there, not just on the quantity, but also the quality as well. So how does it relate back to yourself? So it's also good to greet people. If you have a bespoke product, something that you sell, you want to advertise that. So we can obviously are going to leave this as dummy text for the purpose of this video. But what we can do here is we can change out our text. We can change our head text, and we can customize this in the same way that we could with the main featured text sections above. From that line, then we can change our font size. So for instance, we have quite a large font in the top here, and we want to kind of blow this out just a wee bit. And we can also edit our text field as well at the bottom with our paragraph sections. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to make this a bit larger. I'm actually going to move everything down quite a bit. So just drag that down like we talked about before. And we're going to click on this white strip here. And again, you'll see this white strip is slightly different from the canvas background that comes with Wix. So we're going to drag that down. This time we're going to use the white marker, and that will just drag down the actual strip itself, not the whole box. So when we drag that down, we can expand on the text. So I'm just going to quickly use a website here called Dummy Text. I use this quite a bit. And again, this is just to give you an idea for structure. What you can also do is when you're building your site, of course, you can go back and you can put in dummy content, really just to fill in the gap. And then where you come in with your actual content is later. When you have the layout, you have the structure of your site. So I can go in here, add this dummy content into place, and that gives me an idea for the amount of text I'm going to have. So immediately when I look at this, I go, yeah, that's far too much text. If you're a customer coming to my site and I want to sell your product on a homepage, you're not going to read everything that's here. So maybe what I do, I want to break that down the way it was. I want to cut it down and maybe only leave it as one paragraph. I think it looks nice if I center it. So again, we can go to alignment here on the right hand side using our toolbar, and we can go to central align. And what that'll do is just centrally align the content to the site itself and to the page. Underneath our strip, then we have a lot of options we can work with. So possibly we'd add here another call to action, some form of strip, or possibly a video. So what I may want to do is, if I'm a bespoke or custom build, I may have a promotional video that I can put in here. So what I can do here then is I can select video, I can see once again there's a different array of videos we can do. So a video box, different effects and styles that we can work with. So a lot of different options. Now for the purpose of this, unfortunately, I don't have a video that I could use as an example. But I just wanted to show here how you can add a video to your site. So we have another strip here. We're going to drag that in. So hopefully in a couple of seconds we'll see a video will load. Excuse me. So from this we see our video. And once again, we can change the height, the settings that we have here. We can change the height, the size, and the actual video it's displayed. So now that we've got the height in line with the video, we can start to play around with the different strips and options that we have. We can adjust our frames. We can actually select the video here by left-clicking on Manage Video, and a new tab will be opened. So with this in line, we have a video library. And you'll see with Wix here, we can upload videos direct from our own computer. But the best thing that we can do here is actually embed a video from a social media or some form of online source. And what this will do is one of two things, or do both, should I say. So the first thing, if you embed it from Facebook or Vimeo, is you have your social links, so your friends and family, your viewers, or your customers, your audience. Anyone that you have on Facebook will be able to see that video. And when that links to the website, of course, that also links back to your Facebook page. So if someone is on Google and they're searching for ProfileTree furniture, or they're searching for furniture and they end up in your site, they will be taken to Facebook when they click on your video. And that's the idea that we want to try and drag across, the engagement with our users and the cross between obviously social media and your website itself. And of course, there's options there from YouTube and Vimeo as well. So plenty of options. And to do that, all that you have to do is find a video that you want to select. So if we click on our ProfileTree video here, and what we do is we just grab the URL at the top of the screen, and we can copy and paste that. We can go back to our Wix site, and we can paste that into place. And then all we do here is we click on Add Video, and that video will be published to the front of the screen. All we need to do is make sure that everything's set up correctly, our videos produced in the library itself. So from there, we can see our videos in place. And if we go to Preview, and we hit play, we can see our video gets played. Now, of course, for preview mode, it won't actually play until it's published. So we'll go back to the editor. And that was just a good example in terms of how you can add a video to your site. So for now, we'll just remove this. Obviously, we've got quite a large gap, so we will actually drag this back up just to try and fit the placing. Yep, perfect. So you'll see, just to kind of recover where we are at the moment. So obviously, we have our large hero image. We have our main featured product. We have our Shop Now button, which will link to our shop. When we go down, we have our body of text. So there's more features that I could have added here, but I think, again, going back to the element that we want a really clean, simplistic site, of course, we want to keep this as minimal as possible. And the main focal point is what's coming up next, and that's our shop. So you can see with the shop, we have a list of options. You can see the layout that they had and the theme was fantastic, and we wanted to stay with what they had. But we could have also made our own shop too, and we could have added our own products. So now we're going to go into how we can add our own shop. So the first thing I'm going to do here is actually delete this element. I'm going to delete the entire shop section. So to do that, same as before, we left click and highlight on a section that we want to edit or we want to tweak. In this case, we're going to highlight the whole shop, and you'll notice this blue square gets highlighted around the whole entire frame. And on your keyboard, we just want to press the delete key. And Wix will confirm, are you sure that's what you want to do? And for the purpose of this, we will hit OK. And we can delete that, and hopefully it will actually let me do it. And it's probably going to tell me I have to delete the actual page, which is absolutely fine. So in this case, you do need to be careful about what templates you use. That's a perfect example. So what we'll do then, instead to replace that, is we'll go to Manage Products, and we'll set up the shop. We'll learn obviously how to add products, how to edit products that are there. So if you're joining us on the video, you'll notice that we're using a template or a theme. So with that, I can edit a product, I can add a new product, and I can change prices and change features that are there. So when I look at the list, of course, Wix will always kind of guide me through what I'm on. So we see a list of the products that we have, and there's different variants there. So what we can do, first of all, we can select all. And what we can actually do is we could set the visibility to hidden. So for instance, if you're still developing your site, or maybe you're bringing out new products, we could possibly obviously delete all these and set them as invisible, so no one's going to see them. We could delete them and start fresh by using the delete tool, or we can add them to a collection or a category. So we wanted to categorize things. So for instance, if I was doing furniture and I wanted to have a category of chairs, of beds, of tables, I can create those categories and collections just by doing that. And you'll see there's a few different options to do so. We can add a new product, or we can go into collections and we can actually create a new collection. So our template, our theme has already provided with some of those. So clay mugs, dishes, and flower bottles. So there's different options there. But of course, you should start to get familiar with how things lay out in terms of the plus. And when you see a plus, obviously that's just create new. The main point here is we can go back to our products. We can select all our products and we can start editing one by one. So what I'm going to do is actually delete most of our products that we have here. I'm going to leave a few left just to kind of provide a bit of an example, something to stay with. So all I'm going to do is keep a few of these products left. And I'm going to delete the rest. Of course, do make sure it's what you want to do. If you are working with your actual live store, your live site, you need to be careful what you delete. That might be stating the obvious, but there is times, unfortunately, I have deleted objects or items in the past, and you just have to go back and do it again. So what we can do is once we've got a product, we can left click on that product and we can get a bit more information and we can start to really change. And this is where really the e-commerce side of things comes to mind, and when we get a lot more options here. So the first thing we want to do then is start with the image. So I've tried to prepare some images before. In this case, they're stock free images from Google, but hopefully you'll be able to find your own image or be able to upload your own image to the site. So what we can do first is we can see the main image. It's the featured image. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit the remove tool, and that's going to allow me to add my own image and replace that. So let's go to add images. And when it loads, you'll see that you have the Wix Media Library. So there's an amazing amount of images that you'll find here. You can embed images from social media. You can find images that are free on Wix. You may find there's something that could be here for you as a placeholder or something to advertise. But really, what you'll find yourself doing is you'll be saving a lot of photos to your computer, and you'll want to upload those. So the first thing you'll want to do is obviously, how can I upload a photo or an image? So when you get to the Wix library, the photo library, from here, we can go to upload images. And you can see from the example here that I've already had a wee bit of a head start. So I can actually upload all of my images at once just by holding Control on the keyboard and left clicking on all the images. And once I've selected all the images that I have, I can hit open, and that will simply just import all those images into the Wix library. So at the moment, these aren't going anywhere on the website, but they're just being stored online. They're on the server, which means if I want to go and add those images in later in a different product or a different page, I can certainly add those in. So you'll see now that we're successfully uploaded, we can now go back and we can look at our individual photos. But most importantly, we can actually add these to a page. So if I, for instance, wanted to add this chair here, and I can untick that, so I can select multiple chairs at a time. You'll notice that again the blue highlight there. So I just want to select this one chair, and I'm going to add that to the page. Now you'll notice some photos may be a JPEG, and it may have a white background, so we may need to go back and do a bit of Photoshop just to edit out that background. But for the purpose of this, for now, we'll continue like normal. And these are the type of things that you'll experience on a normal basis when you set up your website, is you may come to the problems you'll foresee. So we've added our image. We can also add some smaller images in the background, some gallery or thumbnail images, but again, we'll come back to those. And we can also set up our collection. So if we add a new collection, we call this collection chairs. We can press the tick button there, and that will set that. We want to untick the dishes, as we don't need that anymore, and we have chairs selected. So then we come down to a bit more information here. So we have obviously our name, the product name. So we're just going to call this dining chair, or we'll just call this, let me see, we'll just say with wooden chair, just for the purpose of this. We have a ribbon. So a ribbon is something normally that kind of normally goes inside your image. The ribbon may be a sale banner, it could be a new arrival, as you'll see the example is here. So you have a lot of options to play with. So we'll call this new arrival. That works pretty well. We can add that. Price then, so how much am I going to pay for this chair? And of course, you want to set this your own usage. So again, for this, we will set this down as £30. And again, for me here, I have this in pound sterling, just being set up in the UK. But you can, of course, can change this to your own currency of choice. And there is options to change the currency for other areas or for different countries that you're targeting for. The other thing to look at then is your sale. So is this product on sale? And this will say, what is the discounted price? Or what is it discounted down to? Or how much is off? And we can also set, of course, the actual sale price. So what am I going to be paying? And when you're running your store for a period of time, of course, you can go back to this and you can edit the price and change it. So for now, we'll turn off the sale and we'll leave it as just the stock price that we have. We then have an area for a description. So this is a perfect place for you to really build out your content and your site, really to get a few extra keywords in, but also describe your product. And of course, what is it made from? So of course, we were going with the idea of a handcrafted furniture. So if I was going to spend a bit of time writing out content for this, I would maybe want to set up something here about it being a bespoke handcrafted stool that can go well in your kitchen, in your dining room. In fact, it would go well anywhere, and that's what you want to get across in your content. So of course, for this video, I'll be here all day if I set up these, but I'm just going to set up some dummy text to go in here for now. So maybe a paragraph or two just to fill in the gap there. So once again, I have a lot of styling options here. I can style out these. I can add bullet points, lists, bold, italics. They have a lot of options to play with. And the more you can write in here, really, the better to describe your product. When I'm going onto a site that I want to buy a product, I might want to read a bit more about it. Now, not on the homepage, because you want to kind of tease your customers, your users into going to that page. So for instance, if I'm selling a really great piece of furniture, a table and chairs, and want obviously show the image, maybe the price will grab them in, or maybe a for sale sign, just to really kind of drag a bit more information there. Once they then go in, of course, that's when they want to read more about it. They've already been hooked on the image, they're already hooked on the price. You just need to close them off by giving them enough information that will give them just a bit more for what they've came to see. Of course, then on the I refer to this as the back end, something that's not really visible on the front of the site that your users can see, but you as an owner, an administrator of your site will be able to see is your inventory. And you can turn on stock fulfillment. So what you'll be able to look at here is how many do you have in stock? Are you selling online? And can you quickly reproduce as much as possible? Now, of course, if you turn this off, it doesn't necessarily mean that no one can buy your product, because it doesn't say how much stock there is. You actually have a status indicator here to say it's in stock or out of stock. Now, if it's in stock, it will just be displayed like normal on your page. But if you choose out of stock here, you'll notice on the image on the front of the site, on the front end, you will see an out of stock banner that just simply means that the user can't buy it. No payment options will come up. On occasion, you may be able to set up an email field, something to kind of email you to say you're out of stock, but important to pay attention to this. And you can go back and manage your products at any time. We can also set up a SKU code or a unique ID, and this is just helpful for your inventory management. Again, I'll not spend too much time on these, but you can give everything a unique number reference. And if you connect to another supplier, for instance, you're reselling online, of course, you can use the same SKU codes if it helps keep things organized. Weight is very important for shipping, so good to know, again, if you're obviously retailing a bigger product. So again, if we were going to take this example live with the furniture, with the wooden chairs, of course, I would have quite a great deal to think of here when it comes to weight. I'm pretty sure the wooden chairs are not going to be light and easy to ship around by any means. So you can see there is a lot of info that we can go through, and we can even add more info again with our product info, and these are small tabs you get to see. So a bit more about that product. Obviously, most important, if you've ever done an experience of online e-commerce in the past, you'll definitely need to be aware of a return and refund policy and what that may be. And of course, a bit of detail about what that entails. How can I return a product, or if I have a problem? And the best way to look at this is that the more information you can put in here, the less likely you are to get bombarded with emails and phone calls saying, how do I do this, or how do I take it back? So the more information you can provide, an extra half an hour or 10 minutes now may save an hour and a half later when people are emailing their problems. So again, the more you can put in, the better for everyone, really. And we can go back, and again, for this, I'm really just scanning through to get as much information in as we can. We can also add more options and custom fields. So for instance, if I wanted to provide a bit more information, if I sold this product in an array of colors or a different range, I can give this a name. So I can call this, for instance, the color range. Of course, spelling in American, let's change that to UK. I can change a bit more choices. So the color, the size, the weight, and I can change the list of options that we see. So whether it's going to be red, blue, pink, green, orange, a lot of options there that we can play with. I'm just going to remove that though for now. So you can see that I have now a wooden chair, so our name chair. We have our thumbnail image, our picture, our collection or category, the price, the ribbon that we're going to have advertised, and we also have some other options for SEO. And again, we're going to come back to SEO towards the end. So what we're going to do now is save our product. And now you can see that we haven't, now it's given an alert to say we haven't set up payment options. That's absolutely fine. So we can see that we have our wooden chair now, and we have our 2 previous template products. So just for a test here, we're just going to go back to the home page. We're going to notice that things will change, and now we can see our wooden chair is updated. Now, going back to what we spoke about before, we noticed and we said how you're going to find issues as you go on. So a perfect example here is our image of the chair, and what we can see is that the white background. So what we may want to do is we may want to obviously take this out of Wix and open up our Photoshop, and we want to cut out the background. And again, if we have more time, we would do that certainly for this video, and we would obviously download that photo again. We would open in Photoshop and we would cut out the white background just to let it sit on the canvas, so the grey would just be going through the colours. A way of cheating this is also we could actually make the strip, we can actually make the background white, and that would be an easy way to get out of recoloring. Now, depending on your image and depending on the shade of white, you may run into problems here too. So don't trust me on the aspect of changing everything to white. It's going to fix it all. But if I was to go to background and color, I can actually see the website has been changed. So now if I change it to white, you may actually notice now that, yeah, we've almost kind of fixed that. So yes, it's still a bit of an off-white. Those that are picky and have a bit of OCD may notice that. But you can see that's an easy way to save you, maybe if it takes you 10-15 minutes, an easy way to save you 10 or 15 minutes. So a good example there on how to change a product and how to upload your strip. So what we're going to do now is I'm quickly going to go through this and add in the other 2 products and change some features and hopefully come back. You'll also see our new arrival, our ribbon has been added, and the purpose of the template new is also there too. So I'm just going to quickly go and add the new products into place now, and we'll hopefully have all our products, our chairs and stools in place. Not the most creative at coming up with names. So when you are going through this, obviously do spend a bit of time on putting your names correctly and getting your products in mind, and obviously your images too. So just as we're going to go through this, we're just going to try and keep it as basic as possible, but also cover as much information as it can be helpful in getting your own e-commerce site set up. So we'll go through the prices. Again, very similar as before, we'll just keep it in stock. We've got a SKU code, and the site will update this as you go on. So for instance, if you start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it will continue. You don't necessarily need to come in and manually upload this each time. So you'll notice our SKU code's already been set to 2, as it understands there's already one other product been added. We can see our collections again, and we can even set up a few other options. So for instance, this is going off the template that we had before. So we have different sizes of this chair, and that was added actually just off the previous product that was here. I'm going to remove these options for now, as I just wanted to show you a couple of different things we can do. So if we go to options and we go to color, and what we can do here is we can add in different colors. We have red and blue, and orange. Of course, if you're very specific about your brand or your color palette, you can also set in your hex codes here too, and you can get the exact color what you need. So once we've added our colors in place, we can add more options if we wish. We can also add now inventory for the variants that we have. So for instance, if I'm selling, if my whole site is based on one product, maybe one chair for instance, and maybe you can have different variants of that chair. And this is how you would do this. So you would go to manage products, you would add a new product, and in here you could add your images of all the different variants that you have. And in the bottom here, you can have the different inventory. So do you have a different price? Is there any difference for that inventory? Is it in stock? For instance, do I have all in stock apart from green? And is there any different weight variants? I can also hide variants as well. So if I hint a blue product that I don't actually have in stock, I don't want it shown on the site either, I can absolutely do that without hiding anything else. So of course I'm happy with these changes for now. So again, I can hit save. And you can just kind of keep going on, keep going back and changing products. Or if you wanted to, go back to the site and you can see how that looks. I'm going to be in for a bit of a surprise. So I'm just going to go through this and add in the products, as you can see I'm already doing, and see how it looks. And of course, this is where you can start to see you can go back and make changes later. So here I'm just going to add an extra image just to let you again see how it would look on the site. A lot of Wix, a lot of any form of design or any form of building, I believe anyways, a lot of trial and error and trialing something out, seeing if it works for you, and if it doesn't, return to it later and make it better. And that's the easiest way to explain anything is trial and error. You don't have to publish anything live, as you've seen at the moment. Nothing that I'm doing is going live online. Nothing's been published. It really is a bit about spending time to review what you've done and see if you like it. So we're going to call this table set. Again, the price, we'll put this up a wee bit, and we'll leave the description as default. We'll actually call this sale, and now we'll actually turn on a sale. So we can turn on the sale. We can have the percentage discount. So we will say that there's 20 off, and that obviously updates it down to 60 for you. You can see you get quite a range. And if you want to do the percentage, you could also do 50%. Obviously half the price for you. So it does obviously the calculations in there. Again, a description, a bit more about the product, a bit of information and the SKU codes. So we'll set the weight this time. We'll set this weight to be 20. Inaccurate scales there. We can track the inventory, so we'll still leave that off, and we'll leave the other options. We've already done those for now. So once again, we can go to create a collection, call this table, and we will tick the confirm, and then finally we will hit save. So now we have all three products. We have set up our physical products for all items. We've given all an image. On the table set, we've given an extra image just to see how it's going to look, and we've done a sale price. On the living chair, then we have also added a different variant just to let us inspect how that would look on the front end of the site when we go in. So now we've created our products, we've added our collections. Let's go back and we'll press the X in the top right corner, and we can go back and see how this looks. So we do have a bit of an issue here straight away, is that the images are a bit large, and you'll notice that a lot of them are getting cut off the edges. Now it does work well for the purpose of this build, because of course we wanted to display a large image. We wanted something to be simple and clean, but also obviously to provide the main point of service here, the main selling point. And of course that was going to be our furniture and our chairs. We've done that here, so we can see our new arrivals, we can see our ribbons have been set up, our prices, so we can actually see the money off, and we can see our ribbon with sale on now. So when we click on this product, we should be able to see it'll take us to our products page. So just to test and see if this is working now, it may ask me to set up some options. Perfect. And great. So let's go back to the home screen just to kind of get an idea of what actually happened there and what happened with the page. So if we go back using our pages, go to home and go back to preview, we can get an idea of what's going on. So we start with our page the way we crafted it before. We can see we have a few options. So going back to when we talked before about how you can edit the design, what happens, you'll notice that this zooms or has a quick view option. Now, when you come to an item having 2 or more images, you'll notice that the images will actually reverse. So when I highlight, I can actually get different versions. Now, what I'd recommend to do here, and what we've done in the past, that was actually pretty smart. If I had one product here, so say, for instance, it was the wooden chair, as you can see here. What if you had multiple photos or different angles? So if you had the chair facing the way it is now, and maybe had the chair flipped around and facing the other direction, when I highlight, it would actually show you the different version. So something that would be really good to think about, and different things that you can play with in different styles. But a lot of options to play with. So what we can do here, then we can now left click on one of our options, and we're taken to a page about this. So what we can do here, we can see the different colors. So very similar to what you've seen before online, the likes of Amazon and eBay, we can get different variants, different options. We get the chair itself, the SKU code that's been given. So if someone was, say, registering maybe your online chat, or it was giving you an email and they wanted to register about a particular product, you could ask them to register the SKU code. or bring that to you in email just to give you a better understanding of what it is. Over a period of time, you will have a multitude, or you may have a multitude of different products. And the easiest way to do it is obviously to try and manage your inventory as well as possible. And to do that, setting up SKU codes is an easy way of controlling what you have. So what we can do in mind here with this is that we set obviously our thumbnail image. We can work with our quantity. So again, you can let your users update the amount of stock that they wanted to buy. And of course, again, you have add to cart. Now you can see our product info along the bottom. So again, going back to what we said before, we wanted a really clean, simplistic website. I think we've got it there with that. We get the product across, the description. If you wanted to add more, of course you can. And we've got our different variants. And when we go to add to cart, of course, we can hit add to cart, and we'll be given this side menu that comes up here. And this is all part of the theme, all part of the template. Now, if you were starting from scratch, in our next video, we will go through how we can build a Wix website from scratch, from blank template. But you can actually see how you can set up this with the e-commerce settings and the different options that you have when you work with the design and style. So we can see that it looks really nice. We can see that the cart's there. We can go to the cart page, which again, when we go back to the start of this video, you'll remember is hidden. And we can see, obviously, we have our SSL certification. Obviously, that's not live just yet. We can see our promotion codes, if you wanted to provide any form of coupons, notes to the seller, and checkout. And see a lot of options. Of course, it's also done a lot for us as well. As you'll go back to this video and you'll be wondering how did I get this design? The template will do a lot for you, and that's where it's going back to picking a template to start from. It's better to have something to start from and have a bit of a foundation there rather than to build from nothing and miss out something. So for instance, if you didn't decide to actually run a test and go right through to the checkout, you would maybe have missed this checkout page and maybe not have a design for it. So good to kind of build from a template, from a frame, and then you can take your ideas further. At any stage here, of course, I can go back and I can hit back to editor and I can actually change the layout here, and I can change different features and content. So if I was to click on this, I can double click and I can go to settings, and I can actually take in tax rate here. I can look at the design options, change the colors, the buttons, the text. So a lot of options that you have here to play with. And again, you can go right back to manage store and go back to where we were before with obviously our store products. When you go back to the main menu, of course, we do have other options here. We have the dashboard. Wix will, on occasion, want to talk you through a step-by-step process. The first thing it wants to do here, of course, is set up a payment method. Payment methods here we can connect, and it may want you to sign up to the Wix license as well. So we have things, obviously, like PayPal being the most common, obviously credit and debit card. Along with that, we have a few other third-party options. And you'll see there's some here, Sofort and Ideal, and it will give you the best options for those and what works. Of course, you can hit connect and follow the process, which is very easy to do. And it is a step-by-step guide provided by Wix. Once you start to play around with this a bit more, you'll see there's different options here. So you can set up tax and shipping for different areas and countries you're delivering to. You can actually add new regions and set up different tax codes that would be appropriate for you. You also have different rules and permissions. So for instance, if I wanted to add a colleague to the site, but I didn't want them to have full admin access, I didn't want them to be able to change the design of the site, I could actually add them in here as a contributor or as a store manager. And what they would be able to do is obviously manage the stock, change the products, change the description, but not be able to manage much more in the site in terms of the design and layout. Kind of keep yourself safe too, but just in case you wanted someone to kind of help you with the site, someone to keep engaged with the actual stock that you have or the products that are being sold and help you make edits to the site, that you can absolutely do that through rules and permissions. You also have a lot of settings too in here, and this goes back to your policies, company name and the address field, what happens when you make an order. So I can see that when I have an order placed, I'll get an email that says we've just received your order, thank you. You'll then receive a thumbnail of the product, a bit about the billing address, and of course what to do if something goes wrong. All important features and all something that you should have within your site. So again, a lot of features you can have. It's really a case of going through the e-commerce section or the Wix editor in as much detail as you can. So you'll see, if you ever do want to get back to this, if you're not too sure, if you use the left-hand side panel and go down to My Store, and from there you go to Manage Your Store, you'll go back to the menu that we were in now, and that's how you can obviously manage this. So now that we've added our store, we'll go back to the homepage and we'll have a look. So something still doesn't feel right about this large image at the top. And I may want to, obviously, I could take out the strip background. I could change the background, replace it for something else. So what we can do is, obviously, we can spend a bit of time on going through the site. So we've added our products, we've added our body of text, we still need to edit our footer, and you'll notice our footer because of this dashed line, and that'll symbolize that we have a footer. And you can see when I have it highlighted, the actual footer tab will appear. From there, then I can obviously access the footer. Just like before, I can left click, only this time it highlights in orange, and I can click on edit text. And from there, I can edit the text. I can delete, remove, and add as much as possible. So for instance, I don't have a store. I'm exclusively online, so I want to delete this section. So again, I can highlight this entire section and press the delete key on the keyboard. From there, now I obviously have a bit of a gap, and I want to try and close that up a wee bit, so I can then drag and move this up. The contact form, I can edit the fields if I wish, but again, I want to have a, we'll make a contact page for that. So let's take that away and move up the Wix subscriber. And we have a bit of space in between as well. So I'm wondering, can we fit this in? Maybe not. Maybe it looks a bit messy, having a lot of content in there at one go, but we can trial with different options. We can kind of see what works and what doesn't. And in the end, if it fits in place, then we have a design there. Now again, we have a bit of a space in between, so we may want to try and close this up. So we can use a stretch tool just to close up the space here. And that still leaves us with the map underneath. So again, we're not a store. We do, though, however, want people to know where we're coming from. And again, going back to a bit of SEO and a bit of Google here, we want to show locality, and we want to show that we're a local business. Possibly if someone's here in Northern Ireland, especially where we are with ProfileTree, I want to see where we are, so you can see on the map. Now, of course, I haven't updated this yet, but if you wish to update this, of course, you can left click on any item, same as we've been talking about before, and hit change address. And I can change the address to anything at all. So if I just, here we go. That's updated. I can also show a description. If I wanted to provide an exact street address, I can do that in here in the show description. So anything that you type in will appear. So I'm just going to type in ProfileTree. I can change it to show satellite, zoom control, allow the ability to drag around if I wanted to move the site. And of course, being an editor, I'm just going to drag the actual box and what language it's in. So a lot of options there you can play with and work with. You also can change the design of a map. So the purpose of this, they have this under black and white, but you can change the color. Again, play with different options. So if there's a color that represents your brand or the color and theme that you're going with on your site, you can absolutely do that and bring those into place. So we'll just select this color just to highlight anywhere that there's water, it'll be green. That's absolutely fine. And we can close that off. So now we've got our footer, we've got our products, and we've got our main hero image. I'm still not quite happy about that header image at the top. I think I need to do something with it. But this again is in turn where you spend a bit of time on working out your ideas. And maybe it's just the image, of course, maybe the image has nothing to do with what I'm actually trying to do here. So again, we can play with different ideas. We can now go back to our Wix photos and we can see, is there anything here that would kind of stand out for our furniture? Something would advertise that. So grass, you kind of think of the summertime coming in now. Maybe think about taking the deck chair out the back and setting up a barbecue or a picnic. So maybe try to bring something up with that. And these are all the type of things you'll maybe come across your mind when you think about different things. So that's actually not too bad. It's a nice welcome into the site. I feel now that the wooden chair just feels out of place. It doesn't look right. So maybe what we could do is we can close this up, go back to the way we had the original template, which actually worked well, and we can try and close up this strip. So again, we can highlight on the strip, drag this up, and again, you will get a few things that will move out of place. And we can drag that up into place. Now again, we'll see again, there's a bit more of content out of place. So we'll just again try and move everything up as much as we can. Perfect. So now we've moved our hero image up to the top. We've compressed or condensed the amount of space that we've given it. What I may do instead here, I may replace this with the logo. So what we can do here is, again, we can left click and select the delete key, and we can go to the add option. When we go to add option, we can then go to image. From there, we can go to My Image Uploads, and again, this will take us back to where our images was. And I'll notice straight away that I haven't actually uploaded my logo and the logo we created before. So what I want to do here is I want to go to Upload Images. I want to find our logo and hit Open. And once again, this will upload to the site. So once the logo gets updated, I can add that to the page. And then I can see we've got a black and white logo. So I obviously need to know now that I have to go back and fix that image. I'll need to turn it to white. And once again, go back to the way we looked at things before, you will find that that's something that will happen every now and again. You will need to make changes to your site. So you may plan out something to be as you imagine in your head, or you may be able to scribble it out on paper. So your idea that you had, but you may notice it may not come together in the end. So something to do, make yourself aware of and prepare for it. So of course, in the meantime, though, we will add this actually to the footer, or to the header, should I say. And we can go and add that in the top section. So if I scroll up, I see it's going to let me add that up there. Don't think it's going to let me add that to the navigation at the top of the screen. Nope. So a wee bit of trial and error there. There we go. So just need to make a bit of space for it, and you'll see how we got there in the end. So a wee bit of trial and error. So just like we were talking about before, you maybe run into some trials, and of course myself with a wee bit of experience on Wix, even I run into problems too. So now we've added our logo in place, we can now start to play around with our navigation a bit more. And we can try and get things in line. So what I may do here with the navigation is just stretch that across. And we can make it full width if we like. And that means that it'll span across. So we had a full navigation bar that would stretch across the width of the site. We can absolutely do that. And play around with different positions. I'll leave it the way it was and just move it over to the right hand side, of course. So we have our logo with ProfileTree and of course our handcrafted furniture underneath in the shop now. So what you'll notice in there is some links as we go around. So we have links obviously for our logo, links for buttons and how to get to different pages. So we look at our handcrafted furniture and we see shop now, and we want to make sure that when someone clicks on shop now, they are actually directed to a shop page. Now you'll see this link has been done before. And what we'll want to do, obviously we'll actually want to remove that just for the purpose of this. So hopefully if I can select that to be none, and we will actually add that as a button. So to add a button then, so what we want to do again is getting used to the add section. We can go to add, we can go down to button, and we can find a button that we'd like. So by using a theme, we can see that there's a trend in the same field that we have, or the same design and style. So we can go to add button, which you'll see is the same style as before. And we can change the text. We can change that text to be any options that we'd like. So for instance, if we want that to be called shop, just like it was called before. And then you'll see underneath is what does it do, or what does it link to. And what we can do here is a list of options. So we could change it to a page. Now, for the purpose of this website, what they have what's called an anchor. And what that will do is when you click on the anchor text or the anchor column, it will scroll down or load that section. So what we want to do here is we want to left click on anchor, and we can see where in this page does it want it to go to. So the only thing that's been set up is the shop. So we can click on done. We see now we've got a green tick. We also, if we click on shop, we can see that that's linked. So now if we preview that section, so if we hit preview, hopefully this will work for us now. It scrolls down to the anchor section. It scrolls down to the shop. Now, if you wish, what you could do is you could actually set up anchor tags for every section on the page. So if we go to settings, and there's different variants that we can do here. We have different sorting filters for this. Is all to do with your shop again. Let me see. Just going to make me look bad now with these these filters in place. But what we can normally do is we can set up an anchor tag, and that will drop down to our section. So for instance, if we had an About Us section, when we click on About Us, it would drag down to that section. And so on and so forth. Actually, I've just seen it here. It's over to the right hand side. So you'll see the anchor tag. So what that'll do is it'll scroll down So if we were to add another anchor tag, for instance, for About Us, if we had a section here that said About, it would click and it would scroll down to the top of that anchor. I just seen that off the corner there, just as I was talking about it. That was a good example there of different variants that we have on the site. So now we've done our homepage. So we have our handcrafted furniture. We have our body of text. And as I was saying before about the importance of text and how it can really help bring content to your site. And we then have our contact section at the bottom. And we have our footer. So again, just to try and close this up as much as possible, try and save the amount of space. Perfect. And I'm just going to change that to ProfileTree. Of course, here we're not going to change any details. We can set up links to these. So for instance, at the moment, when you click on the FAQs or shipping returns, there's nothing going to happen. So what you may want to do is, of course, set up links. And again, to do this with standard text fields rather than setting up a button every time, we can set up links. And to do the links, we highlight a section of text that we want to link to. And then what we can see here is when we highlight a section, we can click on the link tool or the chain. And from here, we can set up a page for that to go to. And we use the drop-down window, and we can actually see that that goes to the FAQ page. And we can left-click on Done, and that will update. Now, by default, anything to do with Wix, or even in general, when you develop websites, you will notice that a link or an anchor tag will actually underline. And to remove that underline, all you do is, again, highlight and left-click on the underline tool, and that will remove that. An underline just simply symbolizes that there is a link or some form of anchor tag in place that when you click on it, it will take you to another option. And that's what you can see there with the link in place. And you can do that for any body of text. So for instance, if you're typing out a standard, maybe the About Us page, and you had a link maybe to your social media feed, and rather than having Facebook logos and things like this, you could actually just have a link that says Facebook. And when they click it, it takes you to your own profile or your own business account. So we get a lot of options to play with. Different things, and really, again, go back to it, a lot of it's trial and error, really working at different options. So with the theme in mind, we have different add-ons and different plugins we can work with. So here's one of them, perfect example. So we have a newsletter field, and we can always, again, we can add this by going to the add option, and we can see is there different variants for contact. So there's subscribers, and we have chat options, contact forms, social media integration. So we have Facebook feeds, load of options in terms of menu, light boxes, blog, you name it, it'll be there. So the purpose of this, we will use the newsletter. It's already been there before. And when we click on the newsletter, we don't really get edit. We can't see anywhere to edit this text. So we're going to assume that the only thing we can do here is click on settings. And we can see straight away we have Wix Get Subscribers. So again, when we looked at the contact section, we were able to see that was one of the options. The first thing we can do is we can click on Manage Form. And this is where we start to see we can change things. So who's going to get the notifications? So for instance, if I sign up to this, am I going to get an email? So the email address that I registered with is going to be default. I can see what text or information to collect, so I can take their email address. I can turn on their name if I wish to take their first name. And I can also make sure it's a required field. So again, that I have to sign it in. So if I type in my name and email address, it'll register. But if I type in just my email address with that turned off, it will actually still allow me to subscribe. So you have different verification and different info required if you wish. Most people will go by the email address, and name is normally required, and everything else is just optional. But there's nothing that says that on the front of the screen. So really, most people will just fill in all the boxes that are provided. Of course, you've got a quick thank you message, something that'll just provide the user with a field as soon as they've completed their subscription or they've emptied the field. They'll get a simple wee pop-up that says thanks for subscribing, and another title that says just check your inbox. And normally you might even put in there is also don't forget to check your spam too if you haven't got it. Things like that, all basics in terms of obviously helping your user engage with that. So with setting that up, of course, now anytime someone fills this in, we'll get an email and our supporter ProfileTree email address to say that someone's actually registered to your newsletter. And from there, you can start to obviously sign them up to the services like MailChimp, or if you do set up one yourself. Now, for those of us in Europe, you do need to be careful now of the latest legislation coming in with GDPR. So do need to be careful of what you're taking email addresses for. And it doesn't look that I can see that Wix has updated this to account for this, but normally you should have a wee box underneath that says confirm that you're signing up for this box and you're aware of what details we're doing. So one thing to be careful of when you are registering up the details. But again, you can see there's a lot of options here. You can see there's different versions, things we can play with in terms of the design and the layout. Again, you can spend all day going through these options and change and tweak as you go. So the purpose of the theme, we'll just leave it as is and move on to other pages. And time is quickly drawing away from us. So we'll move on. So we've got our homepage done. What we can do now is quickly preview our homepage. So we can see that there's a few changes we still need to make. So we've got our navigation at the top. So we've moved our logo in. We've moved our navigation over onto the right. And we have our cart page. Of course, from our test earlier, we have one still in the cart. We have our handcrafted furniture with our shop button. It brings us down to the shop. Now, of course, that's brought us down a wee bit too far. So, of course, we can go back and amend that anchor tag to bring that into place. So we can see our shop. So when we click on our shop, we can go in and view our individual products. And we can see a bit more about the products. So our read more, we can add them to the cart and carry the process. And again, we can also see our footer there. So just a few wee things, obviously, we need to tweak going back. So obviously the strip at the bottom. So being a white maybe doesn't match too well. So you change that to match with the rest of the site. Of course, some elements may change too. So the perfect example is our newsletter. So again, the design, and we can go into the background. And once again, there we can change the background too. And you may find trial and error as you go on. So we'll notice obviously that the name fields now have lost their button. So we'll need to go back and make sure obviously that everything is user friendly. At the end of the day, if you're giving this to a user and they don't know what to fill in or where to fill in an option, you need to make sure it's as easy as possible. So in doing so, with there we have our field and our address done, and we have our messages set up, and now our fields ready to go and our footers saved. So once we've done our products and we've set up our product page, we then want to move on to our next section, and that was going through our pages. Now, for the purpose of this tutorial or this live stream, time is being cut from us, but I just wanted to go through and quickly summarize how we can add some features. Some of these features I'm about to add now may not make logical sense in terms of where they've been positioned on the site, but the idea is to get across to make yourself as comfortable as possible with the site. So how does it work? How can you add your own features? So what we're going to do here is spend a bit of time on the add section. So we'll look at the menus down the left again, just to make yourself comfortable with how the site works. So once again, if I wanted to change, say, the background of this page or the entire site, I can absolutely do that. So I can do that by starting with the background. I can select a color or a video background if I wish. I can actually hit apply to other pages. So if I go to color, for instance, and change this to white, I'll notice that the entire background will change. So I have everything changes to white. I'll notice if there's any gaps on the side as well. I can see everything changes, and that's absolutely fine. And we can go back and let's check and see. I think the home page we already changed. So yeah, it was white as well. Let's see. News is still the grey that is there, so perfect. So we can see that white only applies to pages that we've actually applied it to. And of course, if we want to apply white to all pages now to have some form of consistency with the design, we can do that. So we just hit apply to all pages, and we actually get to select what pages that's applied to. So news was the perfect example that we checked there. And we can apply those. And now if we go back to news, hopefully, yeah, we can see that white's been applied. So perfect example there on how you can quickly change the background for all the pages. So going back to our About Us section then. So from there, we can go to add. And when we go into add, we can see again the list of options that we have. So different shapes and different elements that we can tweak. So for instance, if we wanted to do a wee bit of styling with the page, we can add some vector art. So vector art would be your type of almost cartoony or cartoon based images. And again, this is a stock free site used by Wix. So you can see there's quite a list. You can search for art as well. So if you were searching for, say, decorations or chairs, you can absolutely do that. Let's see what up. A few options there. A bit more appropriate. Of course, we can customize those just as you see on the screen. So with that in line, you've also got your body of text, so we can change and edit our text as much as possible. We can add as much content as we wish in terms of images. And then we can also add in some more extra features in the form of interactive sliders. You may want to add in some form of for sale sign that's moving across, or percentage off, something, some form of call to action that will draw users in and try and help build that brand or build that establish on every page that you have. So we can add in this here, it's called a portfolio section. So we can replace that. We can move down our text and actually move it inside that. So you can make a lot of changes as you go around, tweaking and editing as you go. And as you can see, now we have our slideshow in place. If we double left click, we should be able to see an option here to change the design. And from there, we can then change the different colors and options that we have. So with that, we can change the design out. We can change the background, the borders, and any presets that are there. So if we wanted to play with the different colors that we have, maybe we wanted to use our own colors. So we can go to fill color and we can change the different colors that we have. So if you wanted to make it more relatable to your actual brand that you have set up, you can do that and change any colors that you have. If you wanted to add a new custom color, you can do that as well. So we'll close out of that and we'll go back to our previous page. I'm just going to delete these out of the way and move these around. So you can see we just moved the text out. Okay, I just seen one of the questions coming through there. I just wanted to go back as well from Cupcake. It was just to talk about how you can use PayPal, and that was a good point. So maybe just before we move on to the About section, was just to go back and see the PayPal options or how you can set up some of the payment. So just to take a wee break there from the About page, we'll have a look at the My Store. So it was just to go back to that question. When you look at the store page, and we talked about Manage Store before, how you can set up different options. Of course, when you set up the payment system with Wix for the first time, you will get pestered in terms of how to set it up. And you've seen, I've been on this a couple of times, you will notice there's different options. And when you go to connect the payment method, you'll see the PayPal option will be in here. And when you go to connect through PayPal, you'll be able to set up your register ID and link it to your PayPal account. So a really easy process to do. And if you do need to set up any form of further options, you just do it through the settings here. Really a case of spending a bit of time just through the PayPal options, or through the Wix Store options, where you can sit and tweak and customize this as you need. And you can also see here at the top, you can actually set where your business is located. And what this will do is this will just take it into where you are in the world as you're setting up your account. So if you set up your account in the UK, of course, your business will be located in the United Kingdom. However, if you're setting up your account in the UK, however, it's for the US, you may want to change that to see more appropriate services or vendors that may be more relatable in the US. So just something to note when you're setting up the store. If there is any further questions, do put it in the comments, and I'll certainly try and get back to them and check as we go on. As we're going back though, let's go back to our About Us page for now and work on just quickly how to put some content in place. We've had a bit of an issue there with content disappearing. We've noticed that we've now got this blank panel and strip in the middle. So what we're going to do is obviously fill in the gaps here. We obviously want this to display a bit of information. So first thing we want to do is just try and tidy up our panels. So you can see obviously we've still got our white background here. Just going to move this down. Let me see. Bit strange. I don't know if you can see that there yourself as well. We can see that our stories underneath, and that's to do with layers and layering of content. But what we're going to do for now is just add in new content again. So we'll go back then to our text sections and we'll add in a heading. So we'll find a heading that's appropriate. So let's see. Short and simple. So we can put that in line. Now, although we have the map at the bottom, we will try and see if there's a way that we can add something just to provide a bit more information about us, maybe a list. Now, if we're going to go back to our idea on furniture, maybe we have a process to follow, which I think would be pretty nice. So if we look at the likes of, seen here. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on customizing this, but maybe I would have my process to follow in the design and development of furniture. So maybe I would go from inspiration or design concept, and then maybe push it on the prototyping or production. Finally, your home. You might want to do a bit of content in between, just to summarize that. I'll maybe want to manage the items there. I can add more. I can remove some if I wish. But the idea here is just kind of showing you how you can add different items to the site, just to try and give it a bit more of a unique feel, something that stands out from the standard text and image. And what we want to do is play with different options that we have. So there's a lot that we can work with. If, for instance, you're looking for something for inspiration, again, we've got other websites to work with. So we can go back to made.com and see what they've done. So if we look, for instance, at some of their individual pages, so they have an About Us page. So let's have a look there. So they have just an image and text, how they're made, showrooms, jobs. So we can see it's a pretty basic and simple page, but again, they've just kept in line with their website. So what we may want to do if we're going to spend some time on this would be to change the colors. Our colors are very neutral, and we want to maintain that those neutral colors stay across. So of course, having a yellow, green, and red background may not be the most neutral point that we can do on the site. So different changes, of course, you'll want to spend a bit of time on, and you'll want to come back to at different stages. So we, of course, can go in here now and add a block of text underneath. So we'll just add a paragraph. We'll try and see if we can get some form of alignment in the center. And we'll go back to our great website of dummy text and add a few more bits and pieces in together. And then what we'll do next is we will add some form of image strip. I think going back to what we had before was actually pretty good. Actually, maybe do some form of contact form. So you can gain a lot of inspiration, a lot of thoughts just by viewing the amount of content that Wix offers. And you'll get maybe new ideas on the spot. So maybe if you did plan out a full site before and suddenly you've been stuck for ideas, you can go back. So now, for instance, here's a testimonial I can add. See, it's quite large, so let's resize that. Well, just things will change with it. That's absolutely fine. Yep, so what we'll do there is just to show you how that was done. So we obviously had this strip that was the full size of the page. And we may notice that there'll be issues there, and that might cause run into problems that we talked about before with responsive design. So what we can do here is if we left click on the entire column, or on the strip, should I say. So if we just select the blue line at the bottom, we should be able to see that this stretched mark comes up. And what we can do here is we can select this to be page, and that means that the strip will only go to the full width of the Wix offers. Now, of course, some form of consistency will be required. So for instance, if you'd started your homepage with a full width image, like we actually have done, you may want to keep that standard across. And so we here have just simply added a testimonial, and we can small down the image, edit the text to be a bit smaller as it is a bit large, and really try and style out the different options that we have. So again, we click on this column, we can manage that column into place. We can actually move the location and really just tweak it to how we want the site to display. And in a couple of minutes, we have a fully functional About Us page, and it's really brief. It does exactly what it says in the tin, and it will get you past in terms of content. And of course, you can keep editing as you go. So now within the About Us page, we can move on to the next pages and so on and so forth. And as I said before, you can really sit and spend a lot of time on developing new sections. So this example, this theme, has the shop based off a grid on the home page. But if you wish, if you wanted to have a store page, you can absolutely do that. And to do that, you go through again, go back to the store, the toolbar on the side. We can go down and we can go to Store Manager. From the top, we can normally go to Manage Store, but here we can go to Store Pages. We can see the list of pages that we have, so the thank you page, the product page, and we can actually add another new store page. Excuse me. So in doing a store page, we then actually can have a shop or a page dedicated to a shop alone. And what that would be is on the top, you'll see that there's a shop section. So before, when we clicked on the shop, it would have brought you down on the home page, or now we can go to an actual shop page. And if you have more, obviously for the purpose of this, we only have 3 products. So it may not have been the most necessary thing to do, but what we can do here is we can have our 3 products set up on the home page, or on a shop page in this case, and have them advertised across the board. So what we'll do here is we'll actually remove this shop that maybe doesn't meet the needs that we're looking for. That's this example. So the same example we had before is when we tried to delete the shop, we got an alert, something we could do or had to do. To do this, what we need to do is just follow the instructions on screen. So here's how. So we click on the pages menu, we can hover on the shop page, and we can use the more option to delete. So we do that. So pages menu. I lose myself now with these. You can see shop, you can select the more options and then hit delete. And that, of course, will delete the shop page. So just going back to where we had before. So we have our shop, our main body of content, and our homepage. And that, in summary, is really some basics, so enough basics to get you started with an e-commerce site. So really going through how you can set up the homepage, a basic about us page, add a shop, move around with anchor tags, and trial and test, and really get some content out there. What we want to go into next is of course, how we can get a site starting from a blank template, moving up from a blank template, creating your own design and layout, to then producing that site, having it fully made for mobile response, and then finally carrying out another video again on how you can prepare a Wix site for SEO, and prepare that for online. So if you ever are looking at the likes of e-commerce again and you wanted to develop your own e-commerce site, do get in contact with ProfileTree. Obviously, our email is in the description below as well, and we can certainly help you out. Of course, if you do have any questions throughout the course of the video, we'll keep this online. So if there is any videos at all or any questions that you have on either this video or previous videos that we've done in the past, do let us know in the comments. If any queries that you do have with any videos we've done before, again, just let us know. And if you have any further support required for the store, that's what we're here to do. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was our first time going for a live stream. It was a good experience for all of us. Some things we'll have to do better next time, of course, and we'll move on. But I do appreciate you joining us on this video. And again, if there's anything else we can help with in the future, do let us know. Requests are taken well, and we work on trying to get the next best video out there as much as we can. But thanks again for joining us. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your site. And if you do get a site up and running, of course, put that in the comments too. Let us check it out. Let's see how you've got on yourself. But it was great to do this today. Thanks again.